Reasons why eternal punishment is in contradiction on Hashem's mercy and justice. GD created a system of justice. Both judgment and mercy are part of that system. They both stem from the fact that a person's actions have a real effect on the world, increasing good or bad both in themselves and the world. Someone who creates a tremendous amount of bad will cause themselves suffering through their actions, which is more fair than having that suffering devolve onto others who did not sin. This is how the Nefesh Hashem deals with your question. The idea of total annihilation a la the Christian Armageddon is not biblical and is not found in Judaism at all. In the end of days, aka afterwards, is found in Isaiah 2 verse 2, Micah 4 verse 1, and many others in the Hebrew Bible. It means the end of the current era and the beginning of the Messianic era, a time of global peace and knowledge of GD. It is a wonderful time, not a disaster at all. A war may precede this time. All negative prophecies are given as a warning, so they can be avoided, so this war is not an absolute but rather a possibility if people don't behave well and turn to GD. As the Nefesh Hashem explains, and so too the punishment of Gehinnom, its explanation is the same, that the sin itself is his punishment, and as is written, Mishlei 5:22, his sins will trap him and in the ropes of his sins will he be held, and Yirmiyahu 2:19, your own wickedness will afflict you, as will be explained, that when a person performs one of God's commandments that shouldn't be done, the defect and the destruction is recorded, heaven forfend, immediately above, at its root. And this is what our sages, OBM, said, Iravin 19:1, the evil deepen Gehinnom for themselves, conveying that they themselves deepen Gehinnom for themselves, and expand it and ignite it with their sins. And as is written, Yeshayahu 50:11, behold, all you who kindle a fire, be gone in the flames of your fire, and among the sparks that you kindled. From my hand shall this be for you. Therefore when the notables of the great assembly seized the evil inclination, then Gehinnom was thereby quenched, as it is written in Zohar, Truma 109b, as the evil ones warm themselves by the fire of the evil inclination, in every warming and warming. This is the degree to which the fire burns in Gehinnom, when once the evil inclination was absent from the world, and all during that period the fire of Gehinnom was extinguished and didn't burn at all. When the evil inclination returned to its place and the evil in the world began to warm themselves from it, the fire of Gehinnom began to burn. For Gehinnom doesn't burn except fueled by the power of the evil one's evil inclination. This is what the text said, Ayav 34:11, for a man shall be paid for his actions. That the action itself, whether it be good or evil, heaven forfend, it emphatic itself is his compensation, as we explained and refer to Zohar Korach 177a. And this is what is said in Mishnah Avat 4:2, the reward of fulfilling a commandment is another commandment, and the reward of a transgression is another transgression. And this is what is written, Kohelet 12:14, for every action, God Elohim will bring to judgment. To say it is the action itself that endures and is recorded as it is, as was explained above. Therefore our sages, OBM, said, Bava 50, all who say that the Holy One, blessed be He, makes concessions, his life will be conceded. And so it is in the Yerushalmi, the 5th chapter of Sh column, and in Bereshit Rabbah, chapter 67, and in Tanchuma, Parshat Tisa, and the Shokar Tov, Thilim. And on the face of it this seems surprising, for a kind person acts according to the characteristic of leniency. However, it is as we wrote above, that this is not a method of punishment or revenge, heaven forfend, only that, Mishlei 13:21, evil pursues sinners, that the sin itself is the punishment. For from the moment of creation, He, blessed be His name, fixed the order of how the worlds behave, that they should be dependent on what a person's actions arouse, whether good or evil, heaven forfend, that all of his actions and situations create their own effects, each one in its source and root. And he necessarily receives judgment via the powers of impurity that he empowered with his actions, according to the degree and severity of the defect. And by this, of itself, will be rectified the defect in the worlds and his soul nefesh. As to the intensity of the punishment, that is because the soul is much more sensitive than the physical body. The same punishment carried out in this world to the body would affect the soul much more strongly. It's not that the punishments involve more cruelty or inventiveness. Eternal punishment would definitely contradict not only Hashem's mercy and justice, but also His goodness. Why Gehenna is not destined to last forever. Every Jew will eventually make it to the world to come. The question is how hot and long a shower will they need to get the dirt off? The lack of awareness in Torah scholars does not exist. They have taught us in many places, including Gemara Keritot, Nefesh HaHaim, Tanya, etc., that Hashem doesn't punish in that sense. The sin itself is the punishment. If suddenly every last secret thought and deed a person has ever committed is suddenly available for all to see, many people would die from genuine, gut-wrenching shame. It is also taught that another fire that burns the soul is the fire of regret. In the world of truth, one cannot hide from the knowledge of the reality and gravity of one's sins, nor hide from the faces of the ones one sinned against, nor avoid the realization of the true potential one had that is now lost. All the more so our soul feels this pain, free from the constraints and numbness of the body, would feel this shame far more acutely than we can possibly imagine. This is what Chazal are getting at with their teachings, and the only reason they bring it up and don't play it down is in order that we should internalize it and as a result, try to improve our bashfulness in general so we won't sin now. Our bashfulness is always on the decline each generation due to the Yeredat Hadarat. The sages also go to great length to demonstrate Hashem's mercy in that despite the shame we will all experience, which if one dwells upon it for even a moment realizes is something that in theory should have no remedy once the time for earning has expired, has somehow, miraculously, established means that even the worst shame for the worst sin somehow has a remedy, in this life or the next. In most cases, this happens in just a year, can be worse, but is never eternal. The aforementioned numbness, by the way, is likely the reason many people are flippant about this issue. Many people hear these things and it leaves little impression. Therefore, they are capable of ignoring it, as well as sometimes sneering about it vis-a-vis people they consider sinful. Don't pay it any mind, judge favorably and retain Ahavat Yisrael not only for the sinners they sneer on, but them as well. We are a low, ignorant and very numb generation. Hashem doesn't blame us for that, nor does he need a defender. He wants us to defend each other at all costs, even before him, and certainly never be each other's accuser. This is the essence of Ahavat Yisrael.